Everything was done. He hung the fishing nets on a tree nearby to dry. Then he picked up the large bucket and headed home. The girl upstairs stared fixedly until Lin Fan completely disappeared into the deeper night. Only then did she look away. Subconsciously, she wanted to go tell her brother. But the phone she had planned to use for recording had fallen to the ground earlier. Because she had been too scared to hold it when she covered her mouth. She hadn't managed to record the scene she wanted. In other words, she had no proof, no video evidence. Given how absurd what she had seen was, her sensible brother would definitely not believe her. He would think she was just being naughty and teasing him. That strange zombie must have caught the fish to eat. Next time he comes, I must record it. She made a secret decision. Lin Fan seemed very kind. The fear in her heart had mostly faded. She decided that next time Lin Fan came to cast nets for fish, she would definitely record it, to show her brother, who didn't believe her, that she wasn't being naughty or lying. That all of this was true. Zombies really could cast nets to catch fish. And this one had even smiled gently at her. On the other side, Lin Fan walked back to the commercial street under the night. This time he returned with a full load. His mood was quite good, but the next moment, his steps suddenly stopped. Because in the darkness ahead, a scarlet creeping shadow was crawling toward him step by step. Hoarse, heavy gasps sounded like a large broken bellows. Particularly distinct in the night and extremely eerie at the same time. Wandering zombies blocked its path along the way, but when it approached, the wandering zombies all made way, being able to make zombies give way. This was definitely not an ordinary creature. Creeper, Lin Fan, wearing his invisible spotlight glasses, had night vision ability? He saw clearly what it was at a glance. A creeper zombie, the terrifying special zombie often seen in movies. It crawled on all four limbs, hence the name creeper. Don't be fooled by its appearance, without even a shred of skin, exposing its scarlet muscles. Ordinary guns could barely harm it, even if hit by bullets. It could quickly recover, relying on its extraordinary defense. Ordinary people facing this thing couldn't even resist, not to mention run away. Even with hot weapons, it was extremely hard to deal with. Only those heavy weapons with great firepower could make it a bit easier. And even that would only help a little. They were so fast that they were hard to hit. Once they evolved, they became killing machines. Lin Fan had a deep impression of such powerful zombies. He didn't expect to encounter one today. This creeper crawled over slowly, constantly sizing Lin Fan up with its eyes. Clearly, it was somewhat wary of this fellow zombie. Its bloodline level was quite high among the zombie population, but Lin Fan's bloodline was no worse than its even more oppressive. As a mutated zombie, it had a fairly high level of intelligence and knew how to weigh the pros and cons. Under normal circumstances, it would be unwilling to conflict with a powerful fellow like Lin Fan. But the smell of food made it a little irritable. Obviously, it was attracted by the fish Lin Fan was carrying back. The strong scent of fresh flesh and blood constantly stimulated its desire to eat. Saliva dripped from its large mouth. It let out a low roar, wanting Lin Fan, its fellow zombie, to share some food with it. Lin Fan understood what it meant, but would he share? It hadn't helped him at all. Wanting something for nothing. How is that possible? In response, Lin Fan also let out a low roar. This was a signal for it to leave quickly, but the creeper's desire to eat had been aroused. How could it be willing to leave just like that? If he wouldn't share, then it would just drop. The pressure from this fellow zombie, Lin Fan, was not small, but as a powerful mutated zombie, it was no pushover either. Its thick, sharp front claws dug into the ground, Then it pounced at Lin Fan like a fired cannonball when crawling on the ground. It didn't look very big, but when it leaped up, it became a huge creature, as big as a standing polar bear, shocking anyone who looked directly at it. But Lin Fan's expression was calm, even a little excited. After his bloodline had evolved strongly, apart from easily killing the 3 thugs who broke into the convenience store, he hadn't had a serious fight yet. Now he finally met a worthy opponent. How could he not be excited? Zombies had a violent nature, and he as a zombie was no exception. It was just suppressed by his humanity, usually. Now that this nature was triggered, his combat power soared instantly. He put down the large bucket of fish in his hand. Then he roared and charged forward, planning to confront it head-on. Mutated zombie. Today he would test its strength. The two soon clashed. When the creeper entered combat mode, it would fall into a violent state. It was in this state now. It raised its thick front claws as it charged and slammed them heavily at Lin Fan, wanting to use its terrifying strength enough to flip a car, to crush Lin Fan's head directly, daring to defy it, not even willing to share a little food. Then it would kill him. Lin Fan sneered coldly at this. He had no intention of dodging. He also raised one hand and slapped back at it. The two collided heavily. Judging from the size of their arms, they were not on the same level. Lin Fan's palm slapping it was no different from a mantis trying to stop a chariot. But the actual situation was the creeper with its thick back had its front claw slapped back violently. The unchecked force even directly shattered the flesh on its claw, leaving it bloodied. Its entire arm went numb and lost the ability to move for a moment. Zombies had very weak pain perception, but such a severe injury still made it let out an unavoidable roar. But most of all, it was filled with disbelief. It couldn't believe that in just one exchange, one of its front claws had been disabled. Its front claws wouldn't even be damaged, even if it slapped a car. Now it was bloodied from just one collision. How terrifying was the strength of this fellow zombie, and how tough was his body. Its small brain capacity couldn't give it an answer at all. It was a little dazed for a moment. After slapping back the front claw that attacked him, Lin Fan stamped his foot hard and delivered a high knee strike to the ground. The creeper was still in a dazed state. This knee strike hit its chin firmly. Bang! Another dull thud sounded. Already dazed, it became even more confused. Its head was buzzing. Its huge body flew backward as if doing a backflip and crashed heavily into a car by the roadside, crushing the new energy vehicle flat on the spot. The car let out a wailing alarm, which echoed far in the silent night, attracting the attention of a large number of zombies. But when these attracted zombies saw it was a fight between two powerful fellows of their kind, they quickly stopped in their tracks. Who said zombies are not afraid of death? Facing powerful fellows with bloodline suppression, they didn't dare to overstep at all. This kind of suppression from bloodlines is an instinct engraved deep in their blood. Ordinary zombies didn't dare to approach, and the encounter continued. But the following scene was surprising. The creeper had taken to heavy hits. After realizing the gap between them, it struggled to climb up from the crushed car. It no longer charged forward aggressively like at the beginning. Instead, it crawled close to the ground and let out whimpering sounds, showing its submission. It was only after 2 exchanges this powerful mutated zombie was beaten into submission. It wasn't that it was useless, but the gap between them was too big. It had no chance of winning. Wasn't that it was useless, but the gap between them was too big. It had no chance of winning. Continuing to fight would only be asking for abuse, something completely unnecessary. This wasn't something to be ashamed of. Lin Fan had originally wanted to test his skills. But looking at the opponent who had already knelt down in submission, he instantly lost interest. He stepped forward and kicked it away, driving it out of this commercial street. Then he came back, picked up the fish bucket, and continued home. This sudden encounter came to an end hastily. Overwhelming victory, and undisputed crushing. The bloodline enhancement given by the system made him stronger than he had imagined. Even a terrifying mutated zombie was no match for him. This made him even more eager. If his bloodline was enhanced further, how strong would he be? Must have children. Definitely must have children. That field of his at home. He had to work harder to cultivate it. The night grew deeper, but Wang Mengmeng still hadn't slept. She sat in the store waiting for Lin Fan's return. During the wait, she didn't just sit idle either. She rearranged the messy goods, making the store look much more comfortable. She also rearranged the place where they slept. First, she laid a mat on the floor, then placed a soft mattress on top, followed by a smooth quilt cover and a couple pillows. It not only looked nice, but was also very comfortable to lie on. It didn't take much effort to find these things, but it still took her thought. Clearly, she had completely decided to live a good life with this strange zombie Lin Fan. A zombie boyfriend. Even the bizarre novels she had read before dared not write such a plot. But now she was actually doing it. Thinking this way, she couldn't help but smile. Just then, the roller shutter door outside was opened, followed by the modified bank iron door. Lin Fan was back. Seeing Lin Fan opening the door, Wang Mengmeng's smile grew even brighter. She hopped over to greet him. "You're back," she asked warmly, like a wife waiting at home. Lin Fan nodded slightly in response. Wang Mengmeng was used to this kind of communication. After a warm greeting, she looked at the bucket Lin Fan was carrying. So many fish. Seeing the full bucket, Wang Mengmeng let out an exclamation. She had been eating all kinds of snacks these days. Seeing fresh fish now, her appetite was also aroused. Braised fish, steamed fish, and pickled cabbage fish. These were all her favorite dishes, or rather, there were no dishes she didn't like. As a typical food lover, as long as it was delicious, she would never refuse it. When Lin Fan went out, he said he would find her something to eat. She had thought it would be snacks not available in the store. She never expected it to be fresh ingredients. This showed how thoughtful he was. She was deeply moved. At this moment, she made up her mind. No matter what, she would have a child with Lin Fan. The fish were soon prepared. The convenience store had a place where the owner usually washed things, knives, and a cutting board. The store also had stock of these. The only trouble was that the faucet had no water. But the store had many large bottles of mineral water, which could completely replace the cut-off tap water. Several large fish were sliced into thin pieces and placed into 2 large basins. One basin was for pickled cabbage fish. The other was for Lin Fan to eat raw. The portions were very generous, more than enough for the 2 of them. After preparation, she set up a small portable stove, lit the fire, and placed an iron pot on it. First, she poured the fish bones into it to make soup, then added the sliced fish fillets. A rich aroma soon filled the entire convenience store. Wang Mengmeng held chopsticks and drank her favorite drink. 1 bite of spicy and sour pickled cabbage fish, 1 sip of drink. She ate until her forehead was covered in sweat. Lin Fan didn't eat cooked food, but the sashimi also tasted very good, and he ate it with great enjoyment. It was clearly a cruel apocalypse, but a human and a zombie actually lived a happy little life, forming a sharp contrast with those survivors struggling to survive. It was like 2 completely different worlds. After eating and drinking their fill, Wang Mengmeng took the initiative for the first time. Her little face blushing slightly, she wanted to have a child with Lin Fan. Lin Fan naturally wouldn't refuse. Looking at her taking the initiative, he immediately picked her up in his arms. As night deepened, after an intense battle, the two finally stopped. They cuddled together and fell asleep. As time passed, this bizarre pair, human and zombie, became more and more like a couple. Ding! Just as they were sound asleep in each other's arms, a domestic mobile phone placed aside emitted a notification sound. Then, the signal icon in the upper right corner, once showing no signal, suddenly started moving. Signal bars lit up one by one. The phone that had been offline actually had signal. Signal. The phone has signal. This indicated that someone had started maintaining the signal towers. But this signal was very unstable. It kept cutting in and out, like an unstable power supply after fluctuating up and down for a while. It stopped changing altogether. But the fact that someone had started maintaining these important devices indicated that this apocalypse was starting to change. After all, ordinary survivors, who would bother with these things? The next day, the sun rose again, as if nothing had happened. Wang Mengmeng was the same as usual. She got up early to prepare food and drinks. The fish brought back yesterday hadn't been finished. They were still being kept in a large bucket filled with water. Today's menu was still fish. When she was in college in another city, she wasn't used to living with her roommates, so she rented an apartment by herself. During holidays, she cooked her own meals. Because of this, she was quite skilled at cooking. Lin Fan woke up from his sleep. He heard the sound of cooking coming from the washroom temporarily used as a kitchen, and smiled knowingly. His current life had gradually gotten on track. The only thing missing was a proper child of their own. Thinking about having a child, Lin Fan felt he needed to work overtime even in the morning. He couldn't afford to slack off on this important matter. No matter if the apocalyptic environment changed or not, it would be the same for him. His goal had always been clear. Even if some huge change really happened, he would still live his life as usual. With the system cheat code by his side, he didn't need to worry about anything. He could live well in any environment. Wang Mengmeng was cooking when she was suddenly hugged from behind. Then her short pleated skirt was lifted up. It was time for overtime. Her face instantly turned red. She was still in the middle of cooking. Lin Fan didn't respond to this. You do your thing, I'll do mine. We won't interfere with each other, right? A simple morning meal ended up taking until noon to finish. Wang Mengmeng's face was flushed. She was full in every way. The days that followed went on peacefully, with enough food stored. Lin Fan didn't even go out the door, focused entirely on his endeavor to have a baby. Wang Mengmeng, who was shy at first, gradually began to enjoy it. There's no such thing as an overworked field. This saying aside, their lives were quite comfortable. But the brother and sister by the man-made lake didn't have such peace. Because of the signal change late at night, the sister, who stayed up late playing her phone, noticed it. So she told her brother immediately. The phone having signal again was truly a huge deal. If there was signal, humans could communicate again. Instead of fighting alone like now, struggling to survive, there was another point. That is, the people trying to restore the signal could never be ordinary survivors. It was very likely official personnel. After all, only official personnel would spend effort on such things and have the energy to do them. Ordinary survivors could barely survive. They really didn't have the mind to care about this. For example, the two siblings had never had such thoughts. They hadn't even thought about it, so after this happened, their hearts became more and more restless. Finally, After several days of thinking, the brother made a decision. That was to go to Rongcheng's signal tower to find out specific information. The building they lived in wasn't far from this signal tower. As long as they were careful, there would be no problem. This decision made sense. If they could really find the officials, their lives would definitely be much better. But what if the ones restoring the signal weren't officials? Brother, can you not go? I'll be scared alone at home. The sister looked at her brother and said she didn't want her brother to take risks. The brother actually didn't want to go either. But as time passed, zombies became more and more manic, and their strength kept growing. It became harder and harder for him to find food. Every time he went out to find food, he worried he wouldn't come back. If he didn't come back, what would happen to his weak, need-to-be-protected sister? So he had to find the officials. As long as he found the official organization, even if he unfortunately died, the officials would take care of her. So even though he was reluctant, he forced himself to insist. Xiao Yu, don't worry. Brother is just going to take a look. I'll be back soon. He comforted his sister, saying he would be back soon. Seeing her brother's determination, the sister had no choice. She could only nod in agreement. I'll wait for you at home besides me. Don't open the door for anyone who knocks. The brother warned again. Then he picked up a blood-stained fire axe, opened the door, and walked out carefully. Watching her brother leave, worry filled the sister's face. She didn't even feel like playing her favorite phone. Finally, she went to the window, wanting to see that zombie who had smiled at her. But since last time, she hadn't seen him for several days. It was as if what she had seen before was just a dream. Until the afternoon, just as she was about to look away, she saw that familiar figure again. That figure was Lin Fan. After days and nights of relentless efforts to have a baby, even with his powerful physique, he felt a little exhausted. Coincidentally, the fish he caught last time had been eaten, so he went out. The fishing nets were still hanging on the trees. Several zombies who had tasted the sweetness had been lingering around the area. When they smelled Lin Fan's scent, they actually showed enthusiasm. Zombies being enthusiastic about working. Would you believe it if you heard it? But it was happening now. He didn't even need to drive them deliberately after tying fishing nets around one of their waists. They waded across the lake and cast the nets themselves. Lin Fan didn't need to do anything. He just sat by the shore and watched his laborers work, sensing a gaze on him. He looked in that direction. Facing his gaze, the young sister instantly shrank her head. But she didn't look away completely. She showed half her head and stared at Lin Fan from a distance. The more she looked, the more she thought Lin Fan was a human in disguise, not a real zombie. As for why he wasn't attacked by zombies, she thought it was some kind of special ability. Since she often played with her phone, she had read apocalyptic novels, things like superpowers or mental powers. She had read about them all. Because of this, after realizing Lin Fan had no malice towards her, she wasn't too afraid of him. After all, if Lin Fan really wanted to trouble her, he would have done it long ago. Are you human? After staring at Lin Fan for a while, she found a drawing board at home and a black marker. She wrote a few words on it, then held it up to the window to communicate with Lin Fan from a distance. Lin Fan found this amusing. He didn't expect her to not only not be afraid of him, but also write to communicate with him from a distance. Was she bold, naive? Or was he such a special zombie that he really didn't look scary at all? Lin Fan stroked his chin, preparing to scare her a little. But before he could start, something popped up to interrupt him. When he saw this thing, Lin Fan's expression turned a little ugly. Someone was stealing his fish. This wasn't a figure of speech. It was literally true. After the fishing net caught fish, some big fish jumped to the surface, trying to struggle and escape, splashing waves everywhere. This should have been a happy sight, but a sneaky guy rushed out from the bushes by the lake and jumped straight into the lake. He grabbed the fish from the fishing net. He grabbed several big fish in a row before climbing out of the lake. He sprinted away. The whole process was smooth and quick, faster than an ordinary person could react. But was Lin Fan an ordinary person? As soon as the sneaky guy rushed out, Lin Fan noticed him immediately. When the guy grabbed the fish and climbed back onto the shore, Lin Fan was already waiting for him on the shore. Dare to steal my fish? It seemed the lesson he gave last time wasn't enough. Lin Fan angrily blocked its way. This audacious guy was none other than the creeper from last time. It hadn't managed to steal anything last time, and even got a severe beating. Yet it still didn't give up. When it saw Lin Fan come to catch fish, it secretly hid by the lake, waiting until the net caught fish. Then it snatched them before anyone could react. A zombie going to such lengths to steal something. This was really ridiculous. Even Lin Fan thought it was absurd, but it was happening right in front of him. But absurdity aside, daring to steal from him was practically asking for death. Last time, because they were of the same kind, he had let it go. But this time he wouldn't hold back. Blocking its way, he prepared to take care of it. But another unexpected thing happened. It seemed the creeper had already prepared for being intercepted. It directly lifted the cover of a sewage manhole and crawled in. In the blink of an eye, it disappeared like a red loach. Inside was the city's sewage underground passage. Not only was it crisscrossed in all directions, but it also smelled terrible. Lin Fan only stepped forward to take a look, then lost the desire to chase. It was just a few fish. He really couldn't bring himself to chase after it in that filth. The creeper's cunning refreshed his understanding of mutated zombies. It seemed the zombies in this world weren't as simple as he thought. Even though he had only seen one, Lin Fan could tell from it how special these mutated zombies in the world were. If even a creeper was like this, what would other zombies be like? Humans being completely overwhelmed by zombies meant there must be many such special mutated zombies. Otherwise, relying only on ordinary zombies that wandered aimlessly, it would be impossible to suppress humans who had powerful weapons to this extent. At the very least, human civilization wouldn't collapse so quickly, losing their rule after so many years. Thinking about this, Lin Fan's expression couldn't help but grow solemn, and he also felt a sense of urgency. He had originally thought his strength was sufficient. He had easily overwhelmed all the opponents he had encountered. But now, this fish thief had taught him a lesson. If such high intelligence was combined with great strength, even he might not be able to handle it for sure. Although he was also a zombie, in theory they wouldn't conflict with each other. But if they really met, who could say for sure what would happen? Not to mention anything else, would he just stand by and watch when others stole his food? And if a special zombie targeted Wang Meng Meng, could he remain indifferent? Conflicts would definitely be unavoidable. Also, humans who controlled powerful weapons, would they really be willing to stay dormant like this? All those powerful hot weapons, even nuclear weapons, hadn't been used yet. No, I need to become stronger faster, otherwise, it won't be safe. He had finally gotten used to life here. He didn't want to die again. Lin Fan decided he needed to speed up his path to becoming stronger. Otherwise, he wouldn't be safe. He had finally gotten used to life here. He didn't want to die again. Lin Fan decided he needed to speed up his path to becoming stronger. Otherwise, he wouldn't be safe. And the only way for him to become stronger quickly now was to evolve his own bloodline. Just like last time, 1 tube of bloodline evolution potion, and his strength would soar dramatically. But given the current situation, Wang Mengmeng couldn't have a child anytime soon. It would take a long time. The reward for having a child wouldn't be available in the short term. Then the only remaining option was the reward for marrying again. Thinking about marrying again, Lin Fan looked up again toward the young girl who was communicating with him from a distance. If he could make a deal with one girl, naturally he could make a deal with another. He had food and drinks now. His bargaining chips were still very strong. But looking at the girl's small frame, she might not even be an adult yet. He immediately dismissed this thought. A person could be ruthless, but not worse than a beast. With worries on his mind, Lin Fan also lost the desire to scare her. Was he unhappy about the stolen fish? Lin Fan had no intention of communicating, but the young girl seemed to be getting more enthusiastic.